Meanwhile, let's talk about this disinformation department, shall we? Because
Yeah,
we're learning more about this. And the head of North Korea's new disinformation board. Did I say North Korea? I meant the United States. Nina Jankowicz. So Nina Jankowicz, if you haven't been keeping up with the news, then you might have missed last week when the Biden administration rolled out a new disinformation governance board as part of the Department of Homeland Security. Here's how Glenn Greenwald described this new governance board. I thought this, if I can find his tweet. Here's how Glenn Greenwald talked about this new governance board. The level of historical ignorance, sheer stupidity, and corporate serving malevolence required to believe that the U.S. security state is trying to combat disinformation rather than aggressively spread it is so extreme that no words in the English language suffice to describe it. I think you did a good job of describing it.
I just wonder who sees this and thinks, yeah, good, right? Okay, good.
Oh,
I was wondering that same thing. Like, who's
wanna
actually
know who?
looking at that going, yeah, please show us.
Okay, I'll show you who. I'm glad, because I actually have this. Here's somebody who.
Here in the U.S., there's been an uproar in recent days about the Department of Homeland Security setting up what they call a Disinformation Governance Board. This has been mostly a Fox World story. It could come up earlier today on CNN State of the Union. But I don't think people know what it is and what it isn't. And there's just been a lot of right-wing uproar without knowing what it is. So are you aware of this at all? What is this all about?
First of all, how insulting and condescending.
Who besides that guy? Can we go back to the question, please? Let's let Philip ask the question, because that guy, yes, he's a mouthpiece for the U.S. government. But who else sees this and was like, good, the United States is not going to let people think what they want anymore? Philip, can you expand on that?
Well, I can think about like the poll that David put out on the channel this weekend, like basically asking this question, and about 3% of people said they back it of our viewers. So maybe they can answer it, because my question still remains: who in their right mind looks at this? I mean, that like it's the same people that just want to watch it all burn. These are people that are like completely infatuated with the idea of a dystopian society, because it has all the hallmarks of let's give the government willingly the control over information so that we don't have to think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can sort of peel the onion a little. Like, I was one of those who felt very upset when Donald Trump won, because I didn't understand the rationale behind why someone would vote for him. And I felt like, well, it must be people were misinformed, right? I eat those words happily now. I don't think many people voted for him out of just like sheer ignorance because they otherwise thought Hillary Clinton was going to eat their children. But that's how it felt, right? So people who were liberal leaning felt like, oh, everyone who voted for him was misinformed and misled, and so they should not get that information anymore because this was the outcome, right? And that's an ignorant way to feel, but I can see how I would have continued down that rabbit hole had I not, I don't know.
Well, and so many people did.
Right. That's a slippery slope.
I see it on Twitter. I see it on Twitter. Like, even reading through this AP piece that we covered in a previous story here on the show about Ukraine, and this AP piece that was released. If you go to their YouTube page and you read their Associated Press YouTube about the SBU storming people's homes, and just read the comment thread. I mean, it's unbelievable. So these people are out there. I mean, these people are out there, the people that would continue that sort of irrational thought process.
So you think because some undesirable outcome happened, then people who voted for that or who empowered people to let that happen must have been misinformed, because they should be thinking like me, right? It's a very ethnocentric way to feel. It's an egotistical way to feel that people who don't agree with me must be misinformed.
Yeah, well, or that there's nothing wrong with it. So, Brian Stelter continues on CNN. I mean, I hate to do that, but it is true. He does continue to talk about how this is nothing to see here, and this is just part of government bureaucracy. We shouldn't really care about it.
And where people can get assistance. So coordinating that activity, making it speak with one voice, and being a stronger advocate to tech companies and engaging the public and academia.
We need more advocates for tech companies. Have we not learned our lesson?
To empower tech companies,
yes, so they
can make decisions to remove misinformation, right? Which already they've done. And Jack Dorsey got away with just a simple mea culpa over the Hunter Biden story. Like, yeah, we called that one wrong.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
We deplatformed people. We had the right to do it. We continue to have the right to do it. But sorry, we shouldn't have done it, right? So yes, they're the ones who need advocates for more of that behavior. Got it.
That's really what they're after.
But hold on, that sounds like common sense. But when I Google this,
That sounds like common sense.
To him,
all I see is like Joe Biden's Ministry of Truth, and they're going to, like there's this incredible backlash to something that sounds like basic government bureaucracy.
It
is. It's just government
but
bureaucracy.
backlash is democracy. Trevor Noah made this point this weekend that we have the freedom to speak against the government and we should still be okay. So he's saying this backlash against democracy is proving that there's no democracy when in fact it's proving the opposite.
Yeah, that this is no big deal. Like, this is just common sense. This is just government bureaucracy. We should all just fall in line with it. We showed you the opposite of what government democracy is, right? We showed you the Ukrainian security forces, the SBU, going door to door, breaking into people's homes and making them disappear because they publish things on social media.
Yes, yeah.
So I know you might say at home, oh, that's a bridge too far, like to compare like this disinformation governance board to what's happening in Ukraine and the Ukrainian security forces going door to door and rounding people up and killing people and arresting them. But we've certainly seen what the United States intelligence community has done to Americans and surveilling Americans. So it's not a bridge too far. We had a report this week that no one even really covered, that the FBI admitted that they've been gathering information warrantless for millions of Americans.
Yes.
Just gathering up your data without any warrant and any right to do so. They're just gathering up your shit. So this is not a bridge too far, and we should all be concerned about this. So, the reason, Brian Stelter's like holding up his laptop, like, here's what Google says. I can't believe it.
Well, also that is anecdotal because here's what Google says to you based on your existing profile, right? So that is not research. I think he misunderstands how Google works.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, maybe it's also because the way that the Department of Homeland Security, when they rolled this out, and Alejandro Mayorkas said about it in his speech the other day, this is how he presented it when he made the announcement about this the other day. So are we misunderstanding what he was saying here?
Underway to equip local communities to identify individuals who very well could be descending into violence by reason of ideologies of hate, false narratives, or other disinformation and misinformation propagated on social media and other platforms.
But hate speech and violent incentivizing speech is already not protected. So they're acting like that's new, like we're just doing this to protect you from violence when that exists. That already was.
Yeah.
Please, Philip, go ahead.
I think he actually said the quiet part out loud, but he did it very quickly and a little bit more subtle. But he said people that are descending towards hate speech, basically saying we need to get. It's thought crime. We need to get to these people before they get to the point that they're breaking the law.
Yes,
and,
Minority
and do something
Report
about it. Yeah.
Yes. Let's
Right.
play it again. Let's play it again so we are not taking this out of context. Here is the Department of Homeland Security Secretary in his own words.
Underway to equip local communities to identify individuals who very well could be descending into violence by reason of ideologies.
Yeah. So good catch, Philip. Yes, that's exactly what we all heard, right? That's why. So when Brian Stelter holds up his laptop and says, when I Google this, I find that it says Ministry of Truth and all kinds of other stuff. To me, it just sounds like common sense. We should absolutely been surveilling people. That's what we should be doing. So then he was asked, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, you don't create a new department to maintain the status quo. So we all know that murder is illegal. So they wouldn't create a new department to investigate murders because we already have that. So what are they really creating a new department for? That means that they plan on doing something new.
But there's case law for protecting people who just maybe feel hateful but don't actually want to commit crimes, right? Look what happened with the Gretchen Whitmer trial recently, is that all of those people were acquitted because they were led into this plot. So the case said, right?
The FBI fabricated it.
So we have case law now that shows that you cannot just say someone feels hateful, so therefore they are violent, right? It's protected to feel hateful. To incite crimes and violence is not protected speech already.
Right. Yeah, and also to clarify something here is that this is not technically under the Department of Homeland Security, right? It's through their separate politics wing. So it's from their policy center. So if it's not part of Homeland Security, then what the hell is it then? If it's not actually protecting our homeland, then where the hell does this fall? So this weekend, Alejandro Mayorkas then was doing damage control on the Sunday talk shows, and he went on CNN's State of the Union, where Dana Bash asked him, people online are calling this the Ministry of Truth and et cetera. What do you have to say for yourself? Here's how he tried to clarify his remarks. Did he do a better job? Listen.
I believe that this working group that gathers together best practices, makes sure that our work is coordinated, consistent with those best practices, that we're safeguarding the right of free speech, that we're safeguarding civil liberties, I think is an extraordinarily important endeavor.
Okay, so now you're safeguarding liberty and free speech. That's what you're doing now. I love how, and she's just shaking her head. Oh, okay, all good. Glad we got that cleared up. Can we talk about something else now?
Look, every government agency has a press department, right? And they can tell you what they want you to think about their current operations. And those press departments are coordinated, right? So now why is the government caring about how we perceive it and share it and interact with it? That should be our untouched liberty.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't follow what you're doing beyond public relations.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we should also be focused on who the leader of this new disinformation governance board is. It was revealed last week that it's Nina Jankowicz. And I think she's 33 years old. And once you started to peel the onion back on this, you start to realize that she has literally labeled the gray zone, which is one of the few independent journalist organizations, Max Blumenthal and others doing amazing reporting, labeled them purveyors of disinformation. These are the things that have now started to come out about her history. And now, by the way, she's going to be running this new governance board. Here's just one of her tweets. Before you dive further into the president's Twitter feed, read this summary. And remember, this entire scandal is predicated on a Russian intelligence report likely planted to undermine the United States. On and on, her pushing of the Steele dossier, Christopher Steele, the list goes on. Interestingly, though, she worked at the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, Syracuse University, where she was a fellow in disinformation. And when you go to her page, they've removed it. It's gone now. 404, I can't find it. I can't find your page. And just to show you the URL when you type in here so you know that we're not making this up, this is the URL. Try to find it yourself. This is her page under the Maxwell Syracuse Education directory for the college. Gone, disappeared. This is what happens. So, but you can't hide everything, right? And so we have to show this because it's unbelievable. So she tried to make herself, I guess, into a bit of a TikTok star as we all do. Yeah, I guess
at some point.
As I don't know how would you describe her on her TikTok, which is like she tries to
she's
sing.
Like the singing bush on Three Amigos. Yeah. She's like that.
So this is her. This is how she combats misinformation by going and making partisan hackery on TikTok. We'll play it.
Laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious. Woo.
Yeah. That happened.
I'm going to formally request you don't ever do that again.
Sorry. I consider just leaving.
I
Clayton and I,
did.
when we were in mainstream media and we worked in New York City, we went to this, it was like a financial follies. It was for people who worked in finance and covered finance. And it was a big end of year Christmas dinner. And they had people who like were leaders of Goldman Sachs and CNBC and things like that. And they sang this song. They called it, because it was the end of 2008 and it was the worst financial crisis ever. And they were singing, "Caught doing bad finance." Whoa. Oh, I don't wanna be friends. That's what and Clayton and I were in the audience, like, they're really singing this, that they all did bad finance and did a whole shtick about it. That's what this reminds me of. Do you remember that?
Yo, I remember that.
It was awful.
It was not as bad as this, though.
It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie.
That's terrible.
What did I just say?
David and Philip are gonna leave us.
Oh
for
my
good.
God. I mean, hey, it put Grover back to sleep.
I mean, but okay. Can we give her some points for like well intent, maybe?
No, because if you actually go past if you go past the singing, which we can all laugh about, right? But when you go past and you actually listen to what she's saying, and she's specifically spouting things that are disinformation.
Right.
So
she calls out Rudy Giuliani for intel from Ukraine, which is the Hunter Biden story, which it ended up being true. I don't know. I'm just trying to like
Steele dossier.
give someone
stuff that so she is the purveyor of, now she's going to be the one making sure that we do not have disinformation. But forget all of that, right? Forget her singing and dancing. It was discovered that in 2020, she went before Congress. And before Congress, she was asked about disinformation and whether or not the United States should ever have some sort of a governance board, basically, that looks into disinformation. And she was very outspoken about this idea and didn't think that the government should be involved in disinformation and should be involved in policing government disinformation. Here she is in 2020.
Thank you very much, Congressman. I totally understand your aversion to the idea that government would fight back against disinformation. In fact, the use of that term has been basically the foundation to some very draconian fake news laws in places like Russia or even Singapore. I do not believe that government should be in that business either. And I'll get to some of the solutions in a second. But
okay.
But I would take the job.
But if you're going to give me a job doing that thing that I just think that government shouldn't do, of course I'll do it. I'll take that job.
It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie.
Well, I mean,
No, I don't know. But
and next up, I will make my case in interpretive dance.
Yes.
Full screen, please.
My God. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.